Coming into Medicare can be a little challenging, and you have to make so many decisions and figure out so many things, and then you have to trust a lot of people to make sure that you get the right plan, because it's likely going to be with you the rest of your life. I'm going to go through right now how we find the best Medicare supplement plan for you specifically in your zip code. I'll show you exactly how all the behind the scenes work and some things that you need to understand. And I'm Keith Armbrecht. I'm founder of Medicare on Video. I help people across the country. I'm licensed in all 50 states. Find the best Medicare supplement plan. And we're looking for value. We're not always looking for the lowest price, although price certainly makes a major difference, but things that you should understand and consider when you're going to be doing this, because if you're going to stay on original Medicare, you're going to be doing this. So I hope that's where you're going to be. That's certainly what I recommend. But first thing to understand, somebody like me, I am an independent broker. So I am not an insurance agent. There's a big difference between the two. Being an independent broker means that I don't work for any particular insurance carrier. I have access to every single insurance carrier that offers Medicare Supplement in the space, and I can help navigate through that and find the best value without having to worry about satisfying anything in particular to an insurance company. Where if you come into an insurance agent, there's a good chance they work for an insurance company. So they're not going to be partial by any means. They're going to have to sell what they offer. So same thing with like auto insurance. If I work for Progressive, I can only sell Progressive. But if I'm independent, I can choose anything that's available that's in your best interest. So that's the first thing to understand with shopping, is that you're working with the right scenario. Number two, it doesn't cost you anything to use somebody like me. Whichever insurance company we end up using, they pay me in order to be your service agent now and in the future. So I am your first line for questions and anything that comes up. And best thing about what I do is things don't come up in the future. We put you in the right place. And with the exception of shopping for better price later, everything works terrific. So you don't have any customer service issues or things that get denied that should be covered. There's really no problems with the coverage. So that's a great thing, certainly a great thing on my part, because I don't have to have staff to handle all those kinds of issues. Where Medicare Advantage world, completely different scenario. If I did Medicare Advantage stuff, I'd have a whole back office of customer service people to solve problems, but we don't have problems, so we want to keep it that way. So I'm going to show you right now how we find the best plan that would be in your area. And again, it's about having access to the market, and that's what we do. So I'll bring you into our quoting engine and show you exactly what we're doing. So if we look right here, if we're looking in, we're going to go in Texas right now. 77802 is a zip code. And again, this all varies by zip code, age, gender, and the effective date. So we're going to look at a 65-year-old female, and we're going to set this up for September 1st. So we're in August right now, and that's another thing to understand. When somebody's giving you a quote, make sure it's on the date that you're coming in, because rates definitely can change between now and a couple months from now. So if you're not coming in for a couple months, get the quote for a couple of months down the road, and just makes things much easier to understand. So we're going to look at Plan G first. We're going to go to get a quote, and this will bring up everything that's available in that zip code and give us the ability to see the entire picture and some things to look for. I'll show you what I look for when I'm doing things. So you can see here on the quoting engine, that's what we call this thing, is a quoting engine. It brings up pretty much everything. We don't necessarily want to go for the lowest price, but we do want to be towards the beginning of this thing, because the farther down we go, just the higher the cost goes. So as we scroll down, the prices get higher. So you can see here we've got zip code. We're in Bryan, Texas, 65-year-old female, no tobacco. Tobacco doesn't generally make a difference when it's open enrollment. Can definitely make a difference if it's later and it's underwriting. Plan G, effective date, sort by price. So what I look for when we're doing this first one, Med Mutual, is not one I would recommend. Number one, I've never heard of them. I don't know who they are. And what I look for a combination of things, but years in market is certainly key. This is brand new in this market, but more alarming to me would be the AM Best rating. It does not have an AM Best rating, so I would not be comfortable with that. I'll show you some more stuff in just a second on why I choose the things that I do. Bankers Fidelity, I like a lot right now. They're very competitive right now, and these things run very cyclical. So at a period of time, there'll be a certain couple of carriers that are very competitive. At another time, other carriers that are competitive. Bankers shows in this market only having been there 2 years, but they have an A- rating with AM Best. So I'm comfortable with that they're stable and they're going to do, and I'll show you a little more again in just a second. Woodman Life is something that I would certainly take a look at. 2 years in, A+ rated. Royal Arcanum, again, something I've never heard of. I would not likely put much credence in this, although they show 5 years. They also do not have a AM Best rating. Nassau Life, B++. I prefer A. 45 years in the market, so I would give a little more credit to that. Life Shield, don't know them, haven't heard of them. I wouldn't put a lot into that. Physician Mutual, and this is something to be careful with, especially with Physician Mutual. They have a special product, so we're looking at Plan G. This is not actually Plan G. This is an innovative Plan G, which is completely different than Plan G. It gives you a high deductible plan for the first few years and then becomes a regular Plan G. Something to be very careful with, that you don't let somebody put you into this without knowing what innovative. If you see innovative, make sure you look a little closer. Farmers Bureau, again, I'm Tennessee Rural Health. We're in Texas here. Not necessarily something I would look at. Bankers Life, okay. Humana, very good. Been around for a very, very long time. Strong, no problems. But something else we want to look at is history. So I can go in and have analytics here that show me how these companies have done business in the last few years with regards to rate increase and the size. So this first one, the Med Mutual, shows only 357 policies nationwide. So they don't show much for an increased history because they don't have any history. So that's one reason I would stay away from there. Bankers Fidelity shows much larger numbers, and this isn't completely accurate for Bankers Fidelity because they go under a couple of different parent companies, so they're underwritten here by this one, and it all comes together. But they show a 4.9% rate history increase, which in these days, under 5% is pretty good. So it used to be 2 to 3%, now under 5% these days is pretty good. When we get down to Woodman Life, you can see they show 9%. So that would concern me. Royal Arcanum shows 15%. That would very much concern me. We want to try to stay away from 50% rate increases. Nassau Life shows under 2%, but that's a little skewed because we'd have to look at it a little closer, because up here at the very beginning, for some reason, they show an 8.5% negative, which is almost unheard of, and it probably wasn't accurate. So when you average it all out, it's not going to come in at 2%. It's going to be much closer to that 5% number. Life Shield, 9.5%, also not good. Physicians Mutual, 11%, not good. Farm Bureau, they don't show, which is kind of odd. They should show. Not sure why they would not. Bankers Life, 2%. Humana, 11%. Not great in this zip code. So those are things that I certainly look for. And then comparing, so if I were picking here, I'd likely be picking this Bankers Fidelity, Plan G at $103. Unless I go to Plan N and I find something generally at least $25 less than that 103. So I'm looking for the $75 range on a Plan N. Let's see where we get to. We got Med Mutual again, not so great. Universal Fidelity, not sure who they are either, but this one you got to be a little careful with. They're direct to consumer, so it doesn't let somebody like me help you and doesn't let me be on your side in the future, so it wouldn't be a scenario. And then we have the same Bankers Fidelity at $78. So we're right at that $25 number where the G is 103 or the N is 78. In this case, I might certainly be leaning towards the end because we're going to save $300 a year in premium. Another thing to consider is the household discount. So with a household discount, you can save money generally if you're just living with somebody that's age 50 or older. We'll get back up to the top. Let's see what that did to bankers. Brings them to $73. And, you know, it all depends. But we put all this stuff together, and that's the whole point, is we have access to the market. We figure out what works best in your situation. We want the lowest price, but not at a cost that's going to affect us later. And if we can get discounts, we want discounts. So that's all stuff that we do. We make it easy, and then we enroll you into the plan. You don't have to do anything except get an email from us with an electronic signature. You punch a couple of buttons, and everything's done. We'll set it up the same time that your Part B is going to start, and so everything runs seamlessly together. And we just try to make it simple and easy, get you in the right plan. You have nothing to think about in the future. And really, with the exception of shopping for better rates later, which we will absolutely do. If we go on Plan N now, and a couple years from now, we can find a lower price Plan N, it's exactly the same coverage. So we want to do that, and we want to, again, make it as easy as possible to do that. So just wanted to give you a behind the scenes look on how things function, and just keep an eye out for what your best interests are, and don't let somebody get in there and put you into something that you really shouldn't be in. So I hope you found this helpful. Certainly visit my website, Medicare on Video, fill out the form. We'll email you a quote on what the best plan is in your zip code. Give us a call. We can walk you right through it. Have a fantastic day.